it going? Here's the intro screen. Uh, y'all, I done forgot to hit the record button again. Y'all gotta forgive me. Okay, let's do this for real, and I'll do the intro. So boom, here we go. This is the boring stream 43. We're doing Enterprise Architecture Foundation study session. We are picking up where we left off. Today we're doing vocabulary in chapter 3. I'm basically like halfway through this at this point. I've been streaming for about 20 minutes and I forgot to push the button. But after we do vocabulary, we're going to jump into chapter 4 and we're going to go from 4.1 to 4.5. And that's going to be today's goal. So this stream will probably be another hour and a half or so. I don't know exactly, but we're going to get through that. Doesn't need to be perfect. We'll be able to come back and, revisit things as we go. So the goal is just to get through it, okay? Pretty tired, had a long day. It is also late, so give me grace. And yeah, let's go ahead and get back into this. So I was just looking at the definition for digital architecture. Let's go to enterprise. So I know what enterprise is. Enterprise is a collection of organizations that work together or have the same goals. Okay, a gap is a statement of difference between two states. Used in the context of gap analysis, where the difference between the baseline and target is identified. Yep, so we already talked about that. Meta model is a model that describes the entities used in building an architecture description, their characteristics, and the key relationships between those entities. So I think what this is saying is like when you have your software like Archimate or some other software, you are like making your diagrams like this and I don't know, these things here, and you can set up a set of consistent entities that can work across all of your architectural repository, and that allows you to ensure that you're talking about the same things between documents. It also makes it indexable and searchable and all this other stuff. So it's a really nice way to keep things organized, and that is the meta model. And their relationships. Modeling's technique through construction of models, which enables a subject to be represented in a form that enables reasoning, insight, clarity concerning the essence of the subject matter. I like that definition. It is also what you do when you walk down a catwalk, preferably in the 90s. That kind of model. So modeling, it enables a subject to be represented in a form that enables reasoning, insight, clarity. Also, think about modeling as a way to simplify something complex into a visual representation. That way you can interact with it as you like plan and make decisions. So it's a way of encoding an actual system into a visual, or I don't know if there's like a way to model that's not visual. question asked. Let's go to my special TOGAF. I missed the question mark, whatever. This dang keyboard. It's a split keyboard. Oh, so a catalog list, matrices. So we'll just write that in here. Diagrams, matrices, lists, which are called catalogs. Okay. Requirement is a statement of needs. Statement of need, which is unambiguous, testable, measurable, and necessary for acceptability. It's a good old acceptance criteria. Role, the usual or expected behavior of an actor or the part someone or something. Somebody or something plays in a particular process or event. An actor may have a number of roles. The part an individual plays in an organization and the contribution they make through the application of their skills, knowledge, experience, and abilities. Segment architecture, a detailed, formal description of areas within an enterprise used at the program or portfolio level to organize and align change activity. Okay, that's a new word or a new definition. So I guess the way to put this into a context that I'm familiar with, so when I worked at a large Fortune 50 company, a large retail company, and we had a digital enterprise, and within it several digital organizations, and within those organizations there were different, teams that provided various functionalities or had ownerships over certain domains. And I guess all of that is like a form of segmentation, because I don't actually know for sure how that segmentation of the organization correlated with the architecture, to be honest, because in some sense my team had its ownership of its own assets and whatnot, but like we weren't really privy to architecture except for like the stuff that was trickled down to us. So but I would imagine that when you're architecting solutions that sort of span across different teams and organizations, you probably have, maybe segmentation doesn't need to follow the structure of teams and stuff, I would imagine. I guess it just depends. Anyways, so a formal description of areas within an enterprise. I feel like when I stream, I'm constantly like on the lookout for whether my dog pooped or not. He, bless his heart, um, he is an older puppy. I think he's maybe a teenager at this point, but it just seems like he holds it for a substantially longer time when he is not crated, and when he's crated, he just goes whenever, and then he whines when I have to go through the whole routine of making him sit in one place while I clean it so he doesn't track it all over my apartment. Anyways, that is TMI, but like when you see my eyes start off and I'm like, it's like, I'm like, did I smell poop? Like, did I get a whiff? Or am I just having like a post traumatic stress memory of what had happened last time? Oh my god. The other day I was streaming and it was like I took him out before the stream and he literally still pooped in his crate. I was just like, buddy, oh my god. Uh mm. Sorry, I've gotten on a tangent here. It's stressful. Mm, 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 mm. See, I wish dogs could wear diapers. Not that I would leave them in a diaper the whole time, but at least it wouldn't be so urgent. You know? It's like I finish what I'm doing and then take care of you. But whatever. I just have a hard time. I have a hard time with him and his poop right now. Typical parent stuff. Okay, anyways, stakeholders, individual, team, organization, or class thereof having an interest in a system. Cool. Strategic architecture, a summary, formal description of the enterprise, providing organizational framework for operational and change activity, and the executive level long-term view for direction setting. Okay. Target architecture, know that one. Technology architecture, services and components for technology. Transition architecture. Okay. Work package, a set of actions identified to achieve one or more objectives for the business. The work package can be part of a project, a complete project, or a program. That's a new word. Okay, let's get an explanation. This is a protein beverage. It is vegan and it has 20 grams of protein in it. And it's only like $3. Okay. So work package is a set of actions identified to achieve one or more objectives for the business. Okay. Change, think of it as its logical grouping of changes or actions needed to implement part of the target. Changes to implement part of a target architecture or transition architecture. Cool. So that is chapter 3. Let's do our little quiz here. Oh, it's a short one. I'll write down my answers on my paper. So which of the following is defined as the highest level typically of description of an organization and typically covers all missions and functions? Highest level description. All, let's say enterprise. It's either enterprise. I'm pretty sure it's enterprise, but if it's not, then it is business. But I'm going to go with C, enterprise. Number 2, which of the following is defined as a specification that has been formally reviewed and agreed upon that thereafter serves as the basis for further development? I would say this one is A, baseline. Which of the following is defined as the fundamental concepts or properties of a system in its environment, embodied in its elements, relationships, and in the principles of its design and evolution? Architecture. Yeah, architecture, which is A. And number 4, what is defined as the statement of difference between two states? That is the gap, which is B. Okay, so let's go to here. So we're chapter 3. Let's see. CAAB. Money, 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 money. Money. Okay. Yeah, we did it. Cool beans. Okay, so we are going to go to chapter 4. And we're going to start. This is the actual stuff for today. That vocabulary, that is a continuous thing. Also, what I was supposed to do on Friday. It was not worth the whole stream. And also, I was a little lazy, so I didn't do it on Friday. But we're going to get to the real stuff. Day 5 here. And we're doing ADM overview. Let me go ahead and grab it. So this was the notes I took for chapter 3 vocab. I'm going to come back to chapter 3 as well. Let's reference in the future. So now we're going to do chapter 4. So week 2, day 5. Iteraciones. I just be making up words. And governance need. Governaciones. Okay, governance need. And this is going to be sections 4.2 through 4.5. Describe the ADM cycle and its phases. Describe draft versus approved deliverables. Explain ADM iterative approach. Explain the need for architecture governance. Governaciones. Okay, so here we go. We're going to read 4.1 as well. This chapter will help you answer the following questions. What is the AMD and its phases? What is the difference between draft and approval deliverables? How is the ADM iterative in nature? I think I know that one. Why is there a need to govern the creation, development, and maintenance of enterprise architecture? How to scope an architecture? Why are architecture alternatives and trade-offs needed? What is the purpose and objective of the preliminary phase? What's the purpose of the and objectives of phase A? How we're not even going to get to this stuff tonight. We're only going to get to um, the governance part. So we're only going to get up to these points here. Yeah. Okay, so I should be able to answer these 4 questions, or these 5 questions, or 4 questions at the end. Ugh, from here to here. Actually, we don't need to do that. Okay, so like I said earlier, I started the stream 20 minutes before I actually clicked the go live button because I don't have a good reason. I just forgot to push the button. So that means I actually have been streaming for 40 minutes. I am already tired, so I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to be back in 10 minutes. In fact, I'm going to make some matcha tea. I have some matcha. Ooh, oh yeah, I have sugar. I don't have honey. I have sugar. I'm gonna do that. So yeah, give me like 10 or 15. I'm gonna be generous with myself tonight. But I will be back for sure. Don't go too far. If you go anywhere, make sure you come on back to the Wolf Pack. We'll be right here where you left us. And I'll see you in a bit. Yo, 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 yo! We're back. And I'm only like 2 minutes later than I said I would be. So not too bad. While I was gone, I made some matcha tea. I don't know what's older, my matcha tea or the sugar that I use. Because those are two things that I have that I almost never consume. I do like coffee, but I'm not. I like matcha tea too, but coffee is just easier to make. But the packet of the little bag of it that I have, I don't know how old it is, but it is somewhere within the realm of 2 or more years old. Now it is dried, however, it is not. It is not in a. Maybe I should transfer it to a plastic bag or something because it is not sealed. Anyways, I think I will. I think I will be fine. But pray for me, y'all. And the sugar is probably older, but it is in a sealed container. I don't like processed sugar, but I have it, and because I don't use it, that's why I have so much left from whenever I bought it years ago. So anyways, cheers, and notice I have my special primitive mug. These are not for sale yet, but I did have someone make this for me. Gotta be on brand. Okay, so back to this. Yeah, let's go ahead and get through this as efficiently as possible. We don't have that much. It's just my fatigue. Really, that's the major obstacle for tonight. By the way, let me just say this. I am glad that I simplified my learning and study objectives from whatever that monstrosity was I had when I did the first episode of this current TOGAF stuff. Because when I first started, I thought I was going to do level 1, level 2 all in 6 weeks, and I guess I'd be forgetting that I have a life outside of this or something. Or trying to study for more than a few hours in a day, especially when you're by yourself and you don't have like a whole lot of other things going on to keep you stimulated and focused. It takes a lot of, doing this by yourself is definitely self-discipline, but realistically, if you are studying 3, 4 hours a day, that is very good, especially if you're able to do it consistently. That is very good. Give yourself credit. You do not need to study for 8 hours. You're not going to remember all that. You're going to burn yourself out too. It's better to split up your learning and your studying to be digestible chunks that are delivered consistently than to try to fit it all at once. Your brain needs time to rest, and you have to do other things like take care of your body and whatnot. Okay, so I gotta wash my hair. All right, so TOGAF ADM. We already had some exposure to this, so there should be hopefully not as much stuff that I don't know as I'm reading through this. The TOGAF ADM provides a tested and repeatable process for developing architecture. It is a method for deriving organization-specific enterprise architecture, and is specifically designed to address business requirements. So architecture development method. So deriving organization-specific enterprise architectures. And to address business requirements. And we actually did talk about this in the first stream because it has these A through H phases plus the preliminary phase. Ooh, I didn't even drink my tea. Well, not bad. Not bad for 2-3-year-old. It's probably closer to 3. Wait, when did I move here? Yeah, it's 3 years old. This tea is definitely 3 years old tea. But I don't know how it's supposed to taste, so I'm not disappointed. I know I'm a disappointing, disgusting human being. Do not judge me, but if you do, I guess it is what it is. Okay. All these activities are carried out within an iterative cycle of continuous architectural definition and realization. The control, transform and control. Okay, so this is oh, I left off the E. So we'll say establish transitioning. I left off of the G. There we go. And governing realization. We'll say that this is an iterative cycle. We'll just say continuous architecture definition and realization. We'll just write that off to this. So we have the preliminary and we have steps or phases A through, okay, So preliminary requirements management. Let's go ahead and write all these out. So our phases, our falses. I saw that someone left a comment on my video, I think my last stream, about having started their TOGAF journey, by the way. If you are watching this and you're on your journey and you make it this far into the video, I just want to say you can do it. Keep going. And you got this. I was talking to a mentor about my channel, and I was explaining to him about how, even though this is very boring, it's the boring stream literally, but even though this is very like boring, long format live content, maybe questioning, you know, why would I make a channel like this? What's the value? There are lots of channels that kind of have a similar type of vibe. And, you know, the reality is that there are people out there, including myself, who really, really struggle to focus whenever we're pursuing goals. Whatever reason you want to assign to it doesn't really matter. My reasons are that I have ADHD. I don't wear it on my sleeve, but it is something that I've struggled with in the past. Also, you know, sometimes the studying part of doing your job is not the fun part, but it needs to get done. And it can be a struggle when you lead a busy life, you have other things, you know, going on. So trying to make time to do that is very difficult. So I would say that the value for this in me, the value in this for me is accountability. You know, getting on the stream here forces me to focus. I care enough about what people think of me where I don't want to be all over the place during a stream. Let's just put it like that. So when I turn on the camera and I'm like live here and I'm studying and stuff, I care enough to not want to get on here and look crazy. You know what I'm saying? And that little teeny push of just turning the camera on, it gets me to overcome the voices in my head that tell me, just go take a nap, just go to sleep. You're good. You'll do it tomorrow, you know? And then, you know, for people watching, I can personally attest to the fact that there have been many times when I just needed to have some background noise, or like I feel like I have a study buddy. And I don't have a lot of friends in real life who want to do long, intense study sessions. I barely had that in college. I didn't have that in college, actually. But I'm one of those people who I do enjoy a good study session. So, you know, whether it's me doing my stream or turning on a video of someone else studying, I find that very inspiring. I find it very inspiring. And there obviously are people out there who like that, because when I watch videos of other streamers do study content, sometimes they have thousands or millions of followers and whatever. So I talk a lot during my study session because I'm very distractible. But there's a lot out there that are like just very calm, chill, lo-fi, rain noises type of vibes. In fact, speaking of rain noises, that's what we need right now, because it is raining here. And that's how my energy feels. Let's see. Ooh, relaxing rain sounds. Hopefully we don't get no commercials. Oh yeah, there we go. I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds so nice. Okay. But yeah, you can do it. And let me know if you are studying TOGAF, if that brought you to my channel. I always love to hear little blurbs. I don't get a ton of comments, but whenever people do leave comments, I always deeply appreciate it. So shout out to you all for doing that whenever you do. It means a lot to me. Okay, so we have phases A through H, but we also have our preliminary phase and requirements management. So a preliminary phase describes the preparation and initiation activities required to create an architecture capability, including customization of the TOGAF framework and definition of the. So this preliminary phase, I guess this happens. I mean, you could revisit this part, I suppose. But let's say you have an organization that does not have an architecture capability, then you need to do this preliminary phase to set up the capability and also to customize TOGAF framework so you can actually do the work within it. Okay. So we'll just say activities required to create capabilities, including, I spelled customization wrong, but that's fine. Customization of TOGAF. Framework and definition of architecture principles. Principles. And then we have the requirements management. So managing it's a continuous phase. I'm getting the vibe that governance is, I mean, obviously it is important. Government is important. But I'm getting the vibe that when you're working with enterprises, especially really large ones, one of the big struggles with architecture is that things get out of sync, get disorganized, you don't know what's what, what's where, and people just start slapping things together. So governance is just really an integral part of architecture. Okay, so phase A. We already took notes on these phases, but I'm just gonna do it again. A is architecture vision. Visiones. B is business architecture. Architecturones. C is information systems architecture. E is, oh, oops, I forgot a letter of the alphabet. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Don't tell nobody I done forgot a letter of the alphabet. D comes before E. How embarrassing. Maybe C, D, E, F, G, and because there are 8 phases. And H. Okay, so D is technology architecture. So information systems is like data and applications. I'm gonna come back to that. But it looks like B, C, and D are grouped. They're all grouped together. I guess that's where the architecting, modeling, and artifact creation happen. I don't know. Okay, so E is the opportunities and solutions, soluciones. F is migration planning. G is implementation governaciones. And H is architecture change management. I randomly wonder what is the etymology of the word architecture. I gotta look this up. Give me just 1 second. The art of building. Tasteful application of scientific and traditional rules of good art, of good construction to the materials at hand. I like that definition. It comes from what language? Architectura? Okay, so we'll just put tasteful. I love etymology. Application of scientific and traditional rules of good materials at hand. I like that. So it's just not just about building. It's not just about like buildings or edifices. Whatever the materials are at hand. It comes from the Latin architectus. Oh, there's via. Okay. Architect. Architecture. Old English use hey creftica. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, tech and archon. Archon. Oh, the archons. Ruler. Oh, I like that. Archon. I might have to look into this later on. Archon. From Greek. Ruler, commander, chief, captain. And architects use rulers. Chief. The beginning from or with, make preparation for, to rule, lead, way, govern, rule over the leader. That's interesting. So, architecton, okay, to weave, to fabricate. If I can learn a good etymology along the way, that's one thing I do when I study. That's probably weird to other people, but whenever I study, I always try to like discover the meaning of the words in a symbolic way, in an etymological way. I don't know what it adds. I mean, obviously, it's very fascinating for me, but it seems like it adds like another level of understanding to like what things really mean when I look into the etymology. But that's just me. Okay, so um, okay, so now we have all of these in my notes. I'm just going to gather a couple more points. So architecture vision describes the initial phase of architecture development and includes information about defining the scope of the architecture development initiatives. Let's just put scope, stakeholders, and approval to proceed. To proceed. Information systems and data architecture are grouped here, but I feel like I saw them defined separately. Oh, they were called application. So there's application and then there's data. Oh wait, here it is. Data and application architecture. Yeah, so these are separate here on the site, but they're included together. So we'll just put here data and application. So if you're out there, you're like a developer or a software engineer, your role in all of this comes from this little tiny, teensy weensy little bitty piece over here. This is you. This is where your concerns come from. This is It's not even how big your concern is. This is just the parent of your concerns as a software developer. It all comes from this phase. And potentially this one as well. Okay, so we have data and application. Business is business strategy, governance, organization. Let's just put business strategy. Processes, business processes. Okay, so for technology is hardware, software, infrastructure capabilities. Hardware, software, and deployment. And I feel like we were looking at those definitions earlier this way. We were defining, what was that at? We were looking at a definition for something earlier that said something similar to this. Was it the same? I think it was the same word. Actually, no. Here it is. Digital architecture. Okay, so deployment of digital architecture. We'll just say like that. Okay. And opportunities and solutions. Soluciones. So implementation planning. Delivery vehicles. Migration planning. How to move from baseline to target. Okay, so how... So I wonder if this detailed implementation, is that similar to the solutioning, or is that more like the actual design that is done by a team of engineers? that the same as solution? There's a word for it I'm looking for. Is that a word for the solutions? Let's see what it says. I don't even know if that's a good question. Sometimes the question's the hard part to think of. So this is about scheduling projects. Defining work packages. Identifying dependencies. Assigning resources. Speaking of a to-do, or I didn't speak of it yet, but this actually is an important point for me because I thought I had a sticky note for this. This is an important point for me because I have in my project an existing, I mean, I would be reluctant to call it an architecture. I really just did a fancy version of high-level vibe coding in a way. But I have this roadmap, and I've sort of intuited my way through a migration plan. Well, yeah, migrating towards a transitional architecture, really. But this is making me think that I need to sit down. I'm already sitting down, but I need to. Sorry, I'm tired. At some point, I need to actually think about the strategy behind my implementation transition, and think through it a little bit more deep. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to do before I actually fully commit to this. Yeah, so I need to think about. Well, the scheduling, I don't know. Scheduling, I just thought I would do this stuff back. I didn't really think about it like a timeline necessarily. I thought I would just do it back to back to back to back to back. But this is a lot of work, even with AI assisted coding. I do need to define the work packages. Let's see, comic migration plan. So I need to define the work packages. I need to identify dependent dependencies and strategic approach. Let's just say timeline. I don't need to do all of these steps necessarily, but I do need to do the ones that will sort of fill in the gaps for my my novice mistake of just winging it. I think what I'm going to have to do as well is whenever I jump back into working on my comic app, I feel like there's a significant need for me to actually I think I can get by without doing architectural models for like the current alpha stage. And I think I can get by without doing models for the I think I can get by without doing models for anything alpha, really. I think that a goal for beta, after I get everything moved over to Tari and working without any significant re-engineering, just Tari, one released executable file, you know, something like that. The transition into developing more and even refactoring the current code, that is going to be where I do the architectural modeling before I commit. So alpha is to release Tari app ASAP, and then beta, the major goal in beta is to model the architecture and use to re-engineer. That's the goal. And I don't think I need to do it as rigidly as all of the TOGAF stuff, perhaps, but it needs to be enough to where I have a solid roadmap and I have solid artifacts and whatnot. Because what I worry about is, like, I actually intend on taking this as far as I can take it, God willing. But what I worry about is what happens when I get so far into making my application and I can't explain the what, the when, the why, the where to someone that I want to help me. And I feel like that's going to be a big challenge whenever I get to the point where I want to bring other stakeholders of whatever sort into the mix. I just want to be able to communicate and show clearly what I'm trying to accomplish, not just as like an impressive set of features, but like as an architecturally sound arrangement of things that can scale and still, you know, make sense together. I don't want no shenanigans, basically. We're going to decrease the shenanigization while increasing the optimization. You see? So yes. Okay. Okay. So this is anyways. This migration planning does not include solutioning. This is only the plan for the how. Okay. So implementation governance is oversight for implementation. Architecture change management. This is manage. Change. To architecture. Okay. Well, just like the name of the famous 90s rapper, Coolio, that's how I feel right now. And I'm going to take a break. Oh my god, I just broke the nib of my highlighter. That means I'm really doing something. You know what I'm saying? That's a good sign. I think that's a good sign. That means I'm really getting down to business. Okay. Yep. So I think it's time for another break. And I'm gonna do. We've been streaming for an hour and 50 minutes, just shy of an hour and 50 minutes. 20 of which is not going to be in the recording because I forgot to push the button earlier. But yes, I should get like a timer, like a stream timer or something to put up in the corner so that I can, so you can all see that in the future. But I'm gonna be back in 15 minutes, and when I come back, then we have to do. This is a really short section. Yeah, these are modestly. These are all modest. So I got to get through 4.3, 4.4, and 4.5. So that's, I don't even want to guess. I'm terrible at guessing how long it's going to take me to do things when it comes to studying, but we're going to get through it. And don't go too far, but if you go anywhere, make sure you come on back to the Wolf Pack. Meet me here. Check out my cool mug, by the way. Boom, bam, bop. Give me 15 minutes. I'll be back at 11:50 p.m. or so. Okay? Don't go too far. Yo, yo, yo. I have retizzled to the stremizzle. I've returned to the stream. Alright, let's get back into this. We are at 4.3. Okay, so documents. Draft. So approved is in accordance with governance. But not necessarily finalized. So deliverables must have a version numbering policy. I love versioning. I version so many things in my life. I have my own daily affirmations that I do, and I frequently will refactor, and it has resulted in a versioning system. So I can like look back at all the things that I've like prayed and tried to manifest over the past several months, and I can see like how it's like changed. Like, anyways, it's tangent. But I love a good number version of something. So this fits me quite perfectly. Okay, so version numbering policy. Cool. Yeah, that's necessary when you have a repository for sure, just like code. Okay. We got 2 more sections to go. Okay, so iteration. Do I need a new page? I'm gonna do a new page. So we got iteration and the ADM. governance enterprise architecture. Governing enterprise architecture. Okay, let's tackle these one by one, starting with iteration and the ADM. Iterative over the whole process between phases and within phases. So with each iteration, the first fresh decisions must be taken. Include assets created in previous iterations of ADM, as well as assets available elsewhere in the industry. Okay, so this is saying that this is not an activity sequence. This is just the flow. Okay. That's good to know. I thought it was the flow. Information flows also result in iteration. Every time the enterprise architecture team is undertaking any activity within the scope of the ADM, it is executing a phase of developing the contents of the architectural landscape. The interdependent nature of developing target architecture requires considering the entire architecture, resulting gaps, and resulting work to clear the gap simultaneously. For example, if a practitioner is working on a roadmap development, practitioner is oh. So the impact on other domains, gaps, and work to clear gaps. Where the gaps is at. That's how you would say that in English. Consider the stylized Gantt chart. Ooh, a Gantt chart. Okay, come through. Come through Gantt. Oops. That is a little small. That develop a candidate architecture to be executed simultaneously until the candidate architecture is tested for acceptance against the stakeholder requirements. Okay, so Gantt chart. I remember learning about this Gantt chart business in a project management course I took several years ago, but we didn't really go into depth about like how it fit into the bigger picture or like what sense people would use it. So I never really used it, but this makes a lot of sense for this context. So to convey sometimes simultaneous execution. I wonder if there's like any guidance or framework. Is there a framework that is made for an individual to architect a solopreneur type of digital business? So this Gantt chart is more of process view. I would imagine that there are some things that need to be done in a specific sequence. However, like you can't really do business information systems or technology architecture without having an architecture vision first. But I would imagine that the phases B, C, and D can be done simultaneously to a degree. Um, Given that they're, because they all feed into the same vision according to the documentation, at least is how they were defining it. When I did, when I started off with 9.2, and I covered that briefly in my first study session, it said phase A, or wait, yeah, business architecture supports the vision, information system supports the vision, and technology supports the vision. So yeah, all of those three, I guess, could probably be done somewhat, to some degree, can be done simultaneously. There are some dependencies, obviously, between information systems and technology architecture. Some, but not exclusive. Opportunities and solutions. Some of that might be able to be planned if the solution, if the architecture landscape is figured out and the solution landscape is figured out to a degree, the opportunities and solutions can be done simultaneously to phases B, C, and D maybe. I imagine that migration planning and implementation governance can't be done until the migration planning, or at least the detailed implementation part is done of that. So there's some overlap. And then change management. Maybe there are parts that can be planned, but it can't happen until the architecture has been approved through governance. Let's zoom in on this. Can we zoom in? Okay, come through high quality graphics. Yeah. So from this, it looks like you develop a vision for the phases as individual units of work. Okay. Okay, we got one section left. So governing enterprise architecture, the ADM, whether adapted by the organization or used as documented, is a key process to be managed in the same manner as other architecture artifacts, classified through the enterprise continuum and held in architecture. So this is saying that the ADM itself needs to be, the process of the ADM needs to be needs to be managed. Okay, that makes sense. Needs to be managed. Okay, so architecture board. Architecture project. So this is really where you live as a software developer, is this right here. You're being directed according to an architectural contract. Okay, so this is saying that there's still room for creativity when there's still room for creativity in implementation. These are measurable criteria. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Cool beans. Are we missing anything? Oh, today drains me. Okay. Well, here, let's do this. I'm gonna take sections 4, 4-2 through 4-5. I'm gonna make a quick little quiz for myself. I don't know, I've never done this before, but I'm just gonna make a quick little personal self-assessment. This will be fun. Let's do this in a new chat. Okay, I'm gonna have this do the test generation, and then when I come back from a break, then we will actually go through this. It'll be fun to kind of see what it creates. So I'm going to do this, and I'll see you in about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, we are back. We are back. And I'm back earlier than I thought. It didn't take me that long to make the little quiz in Gemini. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to give some closing thoughts, and I'm going to head out. This has so far been 3 hours, so this was pretty good time. I'm done an hour earlier than I thought. I give myself this idea like 4 hours to study. But if I get done with my materials, I quit while I'm ahead. That's one thing I learned is don't push yourself too much because you got to be able to be sustainable. Anyways, let's go. We got 10 questions. My goal here is, I mean, obviously I want to get all of them right, but if I get 60%, that's good with me. Because you only need 60% to pass the actual certification. What is the primary purpose of TOGAF ADM? To manage IT infrastructure deployment projects, to provide tested and repeatable process for developing organization-specific enterprise architecture, to define software development lifecycles, to create market strategies for a project. It's this one. Why can't I select? Oh my gosh. Okay, let's try to debug this. Let's see. Here, let's just give it a chance to fix it. I thought this was done. My bad. Okay. Well, at least you can see how I did this. Basically, the prompt is that I did is I gave it a photo of my notes. This is a new chat. I gave it a photo of my notes, and then I gave it all of the materials that we read today. And then I asked it to give me a quiz, multiple choice quiz, based on all of these. And then I also requested that if I select the wrong answer for a question, that it will tell me why that answer is incorrect. And normally it doesn't have problems writing code this simple, so that's interesting. Okay, well, it's gonna try to fix it. If it is still having problems, I'm gonna actually ask it to do 7 instead of 10, because it just might be too much. That's one thing, is if you have it do too much, then it breaks. Hopefully this works now. Okay, so purpose of TOGAF. So let's say this one, and that is correct. Which ADM phase focuses on preparation, initiation activities, and customizing the TOGAF framework? This one is the preliminary phase. Which phase is described as continuous and manages architecture requirements through ADM? That is requirements management, because that's at the center. Phases B, C, and D describe the development of which 4? That's 3, but I understand what it means. That would be this one, because data and application are part of the information systems, and business and technology go with that. What is the main activity of Phase E? Opportunities and solutions. That is conducting initial implementation planning and identifying delivery vehicles. In the context of TOGAF ADM deliverables, what does approved signify? Document has something to do with governance, but may still change. So this one right here. How is the iterative nature of ADM described in the text? It's this one right here. Occurs over the whole process, between phases, and within phases. Actually, I didn't even write that in my notes, but I do remember it said that. Let me write that down. Okay, we got 3 more. According to the text, the ADM graphic is primarily represents. It is not a process model. I know that. It is not a sequence. It is essential information flows. What is the role of the architecture board in TOGAF governance according to the text? They govern the architecture. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, cool. Which 2 key concepts does the TOGAF standard provide to govern implementation projects as mentioned in the text? That would be the contract and the requirement specification. Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. I got a 100% percentionist. Cool, okay. Yeah, so I did a good job at that. And here are my notes for the day in case you were interested. Oh, wait, right here. Boom, boom bam, bop, shabop, bop, boing. Here, if you can recall. It turns out that the AI prompts have not been super helpful, but it is okay. I can use them later on when I come back to this stuff. When I'm at the point of this point right here, the review portion of all of this. So yes, those will be really handy for me to get a quick grasp of like the gestalt of each of these days. But we finished this. So describe the ADM cycle and its phases. I can't do that from memory. Well, let's try it. We have the preliminary, we have the requirements management, then we have the vision, then we have the business information systems, and then technology architecture, and then we have the opportunities and solutions, and then we have the change management. Oh, implementation governance. Oh, wait, no. Opportunities, we have mitigation planning, implementation governance, and then architectural change management. So, opportunities, solutions, migration planning, implementation governance, and architecture change. Opportunities and solutions, migration planning, implementation governance, and change management. Describe draft. Draft is what things that are being worked on but have not been approved. Approved is things that have been approved by governance bodies but can still evolve. ADM iteration means throughout, within, all over, underneath, above. Let's see what I have here. I guess the main thing is that when we look at the little diagram here in figure 7, this is not indicative of a sequence. These things can happen perhaps even in an overlapping way and may need to some degree. And then every time you successfully go through these phases, you always will come back to start the next change to architecture as well. So it's a continuous iterative evolution of architecture, and at every iteration you have to consider the changes without the changes that happen to other domains, the gaps, and the work to clear those gaps. And then the Gantt chart is a good way to visualize the sequence. Architectural governance is needed because compliance, you gotta have contracts when you have implementation work being done as well. And then you have to have specifications for the creative side of those implementations, so that they're all directing towards the requirements and constraints. Governance is to governance also can provide tests and quantitative measures as well. They oversee implementation. The architecture board is key stakeholders and executives. They ensure consistency, and they also work to improve the maturity of the architecture processes as well. Okay, my mouth is dry and tired because I've been talking the whole time. So I guess this is time for my